gentlemen, turn your speakers up. It's time for the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. Turn up the bass. A podcast discussing all things AEW and WWE. Oh yeah! Let's meet the hosts. First, a man hailing from the hub city in Indiana. He goes by @TooSweetKyle on Twitter. The host, Kyle Gagliardi. And your co-host, hailing from the Valley of Lake Tahoe. He goes by @JimTuck89 on Twitter. Jim Tucker. And last but not least, hailing from the cornfield somewhere in Indiana, the full-time part-timer, Ian Garavaglia. Turn up the bass. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram @PodOnTheMark.
And everyone, you're listening to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast, hosted by the Marks, for the Marks, and I am your host, Mr. OTM Kyle Gagliardi. And my co-host is my good friend Jim Tucker, or as I like to call him, Tucky!
What's going on, Kyle? You forgot to mention the new OTM WWE PLE champion in the house, perfect card, unfucking defeated, running the tables. Wow, what a night.
What a night indeed. I didn't forget about that, but I do think it was kind of overshadowed because you put it in our group chat that you were the OTM PLE champion when CM Punk turned up.
No, I bit, dude. I got the lower third. Triple H is going to Triple H. I got the lower third, as you would. Had the text queued up. Got the lower third. Waited in good faith. I got the graphic at the bottom. Hit send. And then I said, what's happening now? So, not ideal. Two perfect cards on the night. It did come down to tiebreaker number 2.
And the other perfect card was your wife, correct?
Yeah, what a hoe.
Did she steal your picks? Did she know what you had?
She did not. She asked where money was going. I was like, I'll give you hints, but I'm not, because she's in and out. And I gave her public money on the Rhea Ripley match and the Gunther Miz match, which were inconsequential anyways. But
True.
She was like, it's got to be Rhea, right? And I was like, everybody has voted. So I clued her in on, I brought her along potentially, but she went Rhea and Gunther. She went with the faces on the girls' team because she likes them more.
Makes sense.
Then she went with the faces in the men's match because she doesn't like Judgment Day. So practical picks in that regard. Neither of us got tiebreaker 1 right. I picked JD McDonough. She picked Finn Balor to be pinned. I was right in who got the pin. So I think after that, 2 tiebreakers in, like if we were both settled, we just would have been tag team champs. But the goal of that tiebreaker for those watching with the predictions picks is like sometimes on these smaller cards, you'll have 6 or 7 perfect cards with the current champ down. And so trying to limit it to like maybe I think 3 max is kind of where we sit. If it's 4 or more, then the next following show is between those people. So it's kind of fun. We need to go back and kind of like probably take an hour or 2 at this point to go back and look at prediction champion title reigns, things like that. Could be done, but it would be daunting. So if anybody likes the show enough, we got homework.
I was going to say that would be a lot of work and definitely would be homework. But while we're starting off here with episode 172, as you know, we usually are doing these shows on Thursday, but a lot has happened specifically in the WWE. We're here to talk Survivor Series. You see the shirt I'm wearing. You know why we are here, but let's run to the comments because we got a lot of comments filing in here. Kind says, new intro. Yes, This is a new intro. He said it's fire. Tucky, I know you were whipping that up for a little bit. We finally got it to work, didn't we?
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. That is my voice, a little tuned, a little echoed, reverb, and things like that. Some people say I have a voice for radio, a face for radio. That's the slanderous term. Yeah. So thank you for the side note.
Yeah, and also Eric Douglas in the house. He said, "Why are y'all stealing from Out the Mud?" Eric, if you didn't know, we were the OG OTM.
Back up, sir. With all due respect, we are OTM. Why are they stealing from us?
Yeah, he does love the new intro, though, by the way. Eric, we appreciate you stopping by. Ryan Matthews in the house. Good to see Ryan here. He was going to say he's been gone for a minute, but he noticed that the intro was a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And no, guys, this intro was not used last week. It was debuted here. We figured it was a special occasion, so
this is not the remastered version like of Cult of Personality from In Living Color. This is the original version. Love it.
And everybody's loving my shirt. Kyle with the shirt, love it. If you are not watching live, I am, of course, wearing my CM Punk shirt. I brought it with me to Chicago this week and didn't wear it to the event, but I brought it just in case. And obviously, it was very fitting. I got to wear it home Sunday morning. Obviously, it was there in attendance, man. What a night it was for us wrestling fans.
Day after shirt, I tell you what. And Survivor Series 2023 is not going to go down as an A+ show. I think we can both agree in that. And a B+ show, a B show, but Survivor Series 2023 is going to go down as like potentially like the moment where WWE went from cooking to like on fire, potentially. Again, not a Vince McMahon move. We're going to talk about it. I'm excited to talk about the whole card. The Pigskin Project, Ryan Matthews, AEW is dead, is his comment. Could be. Or is WWE going to be dead in 6 months because of all of the CM Punk of it all? Speaking of CM Punk, this figure right here was obtained last week. CM Punk AEW Supreme figure. He's not in AEW anymore. And he wasn't when I bought it. I know that the ish of it all, but CM Punk in the house.
Yeah, and speaking of merch, I had to, of course, buy the new CM Punk t-shirt that is out there. And look at Tucky's setup, as Ryan Matthews made a comment. Side note, Tuck Studio is probably my favorite in the history of all wrestling podcasts.
This whole ledge that you can't even see, every figure on this ledge is signed. And they don't even get to see that glory, but it's really only a flex to the On the Mark podcast wrestling community. Big 40-year-old virgin vibes here.
But we can't confirm you have one child on the way.
I have proof. I am married to a woman. I'm happily married. Can't speak for her. But we have
especially after you stealing the belt from her.
We've got, and I tell you what, she was getting hyped too, because she made her picks, and then at the end of the night she was like, "I got everyone right," and I was like, "I know," and you still lost.
See, this is just goes to show people it doesn't matter if you are watching every single week like us. I don't miss a WWE show. You just watch sporadically, and you could still win the predictions, or at least come close. So shout out to Mista for putting out a valiant effort there. Comments are still trickling in. We got one here from Kine. He said he wants the new one, but it's only on the U.S. shop, so he would have to pay an extra £50. Would that be pound, correct?
Yeah. And it'll get there soon, right? Like WWE knows where the money is. It'll get there.
I'll tell you what, too, before I checked out with it, they gave me a warning that it might not be until December 31st or December 21st. So I'm like, okay, so it's kind of like a Christmas gift for me, because I wanted to go to the merch stand, but it was crowded. We wanted to go to the Superstore, but it was packed.
Did they have CM Punk shirts after the show? That would have been wild.
I don't think they had them after.
That's an AEW move. They had the ice cream bars. That's different, but
I got one of those, by the way. Me and Vogus. I have the wrapper still somewhere around here. It's not as cool background as you.
A real man would have let it melt and stay in the package. You're just a sack of cream.
Yeah, I'm sure that would have went over well. I just could have put it right in the freezer after an hour and a half drive home.
Yeah.
Hey, well, let's get into it because we got a lot to talk about. Survivor Series, of course, happened last night. If you did not know, I was in attendance. I got to bring my brother. If you don't know the story behind my brother, he's the reason I'm into wrestling. He's got Down syndrome. He hasn't been to a show in 12 years. The last show he went to, Tucky, and this is very fitting, Survivor Series 2011 when The Shield made their debut. Here we are in 2023, and I got to experience it with them.
Is Ryan the most valuable mark right now? His presence, CM Punk had a hand in creating the Shield, and CM Punk returns in 2023, both in Ryan's presence. Maybe Ryan is the eternal MVM. Texted you about that in the middle of the show, saw your post. It hit me in the feels. You know, it feels good to feel good, and it feels great to give others. And Ryan lives, dude. What a great
into every match. He was rooting for Zoe, probably the only person rooting for Zoe Stark in the building, but you got to respect his game. He was getting into everything. It was awesome to be a part of.
I like that. He knows who he is. How did he deal with the sound? I know that was a concern.
It was a concern, yeah, but we had some headphones there, and honestly, not a lot of pyro at the show. Of course, before the War Games there was, and then the main event, the Codys and all them, they got their pyro, but for a majority of the show, it really wasn't that bad.
Well, and you sell out the place, right? If most seats are sold, there's not room to pop off when they have like kind of a quarter of the venue too. So that kind of worked out in your favor as well. Love it.
Yeah, and Eric Douglas here, I'm trying to pull up your comment, but it's a little slow on my end. I'm assuming it's slow because we're getting a lot of interaction here. He wants to point out that he really wants a Damian Priest world title run. Stop teasing us. But I want to reassure you, Eric, but I think that's all part of the Money in the Bank process, isn't it? Just constant teases until we finally get to that moment.
Well, and that, dude, this, I'm going to use the word fireworks a lot in Survivor Series. The women's War Games match was a fireworks show, and I'll talk about that at length too. But like, Triple H is down with the cadence of the way these shows are working a little bit, and so we get the Rhea Ripley pop. Okay, already won the world
expecting
title.
Randy, by the way,
expecting Randy, CM Punk, you get Rhea, and then so that clicks. So boom, you go this way. You're like, oh shit, this is real. Boom, I hear voices. Okay, Randy Orton. Okay, check that kind of show long story off, and then we're vibing. And then he does the lower third. He puts us to rest. And us at home, not you, boob. And then Chicago made Punk has arrived. It was great. And Bogus, MVM PLE champion, like on the entrance ramp, incredible.
Last minute decision for Ryan Bogus. I was trying to convince him to go. One of my Twitter friends was selling tickets. He declined. He ends up buying tickets, like you said, on the floor, right next to the entrance ramp, and he had some really, really cool experiences down there.
Like, got a deal. That was wild. Yeah.
Sometimes waiting to the end is the move, but let me pull up this comment because me and you talked about it actually a little bit before we get into the actual card. Ryan Matthews said that Fightful reported that the deal wasn't done yesterday morning. They'd have to print merch as the show was happening. You have a lot of Fightful news that just came in, correct? And I think what he is saying is correct, right?
That is confirmed. Yeah. Weird, but wild. And I don't know why. It's 2023 and we're still like cutting deals, show day, show afternoon, evening. Come on, guys. It's wild.
I think it was, for our benefit, because it really was a well-kept secret. A lot of people were in denial that he was going to show up, but...
Well, you get to a point, too, where you're like, well, Fightful hasn't had an update in the last 24 hours, so it must not be happening. And I do love the fact that, imagine being anybody in that men's War Games match and like right before you're going to go on, because it was told to main event talent before the main event that CM Punk was debuting, which might have shat on Randy's parade a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But hey, dude, I know you guys are about to go do a banger real quick, but CM Punk's going to come back after the match too. So, all right,
just a lot going on in general last night. So let's actually get into it here now. And we're going to start with what started off Survivor Series, and that was the Women's War Games match. And that just so happened to be my favorite match of the night, as we saw Becky Lynch and Bayley start things off, which really wasn't that surprising, Tuck, knowing the friction going on between Bayley right now and the rest of Damage Control, and of course the history between Becky and Bayley being a part of the Four Horsewomen. I thought that was the right choice to start off this match.
Yeah, and this match did a wonderful job of storytelling. Missa and I were the only ones to pick the faces, by the way. This was a Damage Control sweep. So this was the point. Like, if Ian's going to retain, where do I feel? So kind of settled on the women's match. And and the women's matches in PLEs are always ambitious, and sometimes that is not for the benefit. But I think this was match of the night.
I'm glad you agree with me there, because I had a lot of fun during this, and during the match, Bayley had a lot of saves, was probably the MVP, I would say, of the Damage Control team, but it obviously wasn't enough to pull off the win. As a whole, you got your classic War Game spots, the crowd calling for table spots, but I think the face of the War Games match, in my opinion, at least in the modern era right now, has to be Io Sky. I mean, you see Ryan's comment. He said that trash can spot was so cool. It's a spot she's done before. The innovation in the match, everybody being able to get their shine, this just felt 100% right. Like, I came out so fulfilled from it.
Well, and the intermingling the AEW is developing this, but like the way WWE can put a multi-person match together with the stipulation and those handcuffs and or lack of, continue to tell stories in a number of directions. And like I mentioned earlier, the fireworks show of it. This was like a fireworks show at 4th of July. They warmed you up, pop, 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 pop. They intermixed it with those like medium spurts of activity and bursts and booms, and then they carefully selected a handful of big spots. Io Sky's spot was one of those big spots. At the end, they put the finale where Bayley just got sacrificed, right, or sacrificed herself, which was not how I actually pictured the ending to go. So I thought that was interesting as well. I thought it was going to be Bayley is the reason they lost, therefore shun her. But now she's got that strong play back in where she sacrificed herself for the crew. So maybe more legs to this Damage Control thing. And then you've got the Becky and Charlotte of it all, who are apparently best friends now.
And that's the beauty of these War Games matches, these multi-person matches, is that there is so many different stories that you can tell throughout, just like the ones that you were mentioning. I mean, Charlotte and Becky embracing was a moment in itself, and it's just a simple hug. Sometimes in wrestling, all you need is to hug it out a little bit, and you're going to pop the crowd. But let's run to the comments, see what they're saying about the women's War Game match, as we got Kine here in the house. He said, not even to mention Charlotte's moonsault. That was absolutely incredible. He's very interested to see how the story develops. He also goes on to say how awesome this match was to kick off the show. I couldn't agree more with you, Kine. Ryan Vogus said the size of the trash can lid was hilarious. It made sense later on when the trash can was finally revealed, as we saw Io Sky use the chain to bring in the trash can. Dakota Kai's involvement was a lot of fun in this as well, I thought.
Well, early too. I thought they showed their hand like pretty early with her kind of stabbing and poking Becky through the cage, and it made it like she was just like the piss ant that was always around, like not a serious threat, but plucky enough to like. I wish they would have thrown stuff into the trash can. Now you have like a mechanic to deliver goods.
Exactly, a pulley system.
And I'm like, this was year one. Next year, we're getting two dudes are going to be lifted a dumpster up the side of the cage full of contraptions.
Or just get Brock's tractor out there. I'm sure Brock's tractor can do the work, right?
Right. Yep.
Eric said to me, that's a little slow on my end. Just a heads up here, people. To me, unless you want to rush the Bayley getting kicked out, the wrong team won. And I kind of agree with Eric Douglas in a way, because I went into this thinking, okay, Damage Control is that new group, that new dominant faction. I think we need to, milk this story a little bit longer of Bayley potentially turning face and being out of Damage Control. But it seems like they're probably fast tracking this, wouldn't you say? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Bayley is turned on here in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, but can they actually turn on her? Because are they going to say she's the reason they lost when actually she sacrificed and therefore turn Bailey like full heel, go on her own?
I don't
Or are
know
they
how you
trying
do
to
that.
make, I think they're trying to make Bailey a face on the way out.
Oh, 100%. I
But
think
why?
she's got to be a favorite to win the Royal Rumble. I think that's what they're setting this up for.
Like, yeah, I guess so. But a lot of baby faces.
A lot of baby faces,
What
a
is
lot of
Charlotte?
over baby faces.
What is Charlotte right now?
She's a baby face.
Right? What is Becky? What is
Baby face.
Bianca?
Yeah.
Like, what's
These
all?
are top gals.
Shotzi's a crazy face. That's different. She's just built different, you know.
You know, I know we're both not Shotzi fans, but I thought, she didn't feel out of place in this match.
No,
I think she actually delivered.
they didn't give her too much. They gave her spots to shine. They gave her moments of impact, but like they put a lot on her plate when Money in the Bank was in Vegas 2 years ago. They gave her work, and it exposed her a little bit. I think she looked great. I'm not all for the like I'm just a crazy person, love pain kind of
I'm a psycho, like it's literally in her song.
Yeah, like I'm not like super into the story of it all, but I do think they're managing her better.
I do too. I think she's a great complementary piece. Maybe even in the tag team division, you can find somebody to pair her up with. But let me go to Ryan's comment here. Ryan Matthews, he said they're in a weird spot with Dakota Kai too. The injury set her side of the story back a little while, unfortunately. I watched this show back because obviously I was there, so I didn't get to hear commentary, but I don't know if you caught this. Michael Cole kind of insinuated that Dakota Kai is sort of becoming the new leader. Just being like the even keel person that can communicate with both sides.
Yeah, well, she's the advocate for the three, right? Like she's the advocate for the three that don't speak great English. And they're choosing to tell her, not Bailey, right? Or
Right.
vice versa. There's a way that that Dakota Kai is potentially the mastermind behind all of this. I don't know. I could also see Dakota Kai getting the boot too, where it's just like those powerful three chicks. Like holy cow!
Yeah,
Bogus.
they could run roughshod on that division.
Bogus mentions Asuka was the biggest baby face of the match, bringing in the table, and Asuka was living, dude. Like she was hamming it up and enjoying it, and I think the face paint has brought out a different side of Asuka, where I think she's a little bit more reckless. Like I don't think she's as guarded, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I just think the presentation of the women's division as a whole right now is top-notch stuff. You could say that about everything in WWE right now, and kind agrees with us. He thinks Shotzi did her job perfectly. I don't like her gimmick right now, but she's playing it well, and they booked it well. Absolutely kind. Eric Douglas, I mean, it is Rumble season now. That's the next pay-per-view, so I don't hate this comment. So let's pull it up. He said, my top 4 favorite for the Rumble right now are Liv, Bailey, and Becky. Am I miss? Oh, you might laugh, but Shotzi. Okay. I can see the first 3, maybe not Liv so much just because she's been out for a while, but I think you got a strong case with Bailey or Becky.
Yeah, I think Bailey, you got Becky. I'm looking at like the Nia Jax of it all. Nia Jax is that monster. You got Raquel too.
They're heating her up.
Like Final Four, like they got a lot of options. They're in a really good spot.
Yeah, it's a great time to be as a wrestling fan, as you would say. Ryan Matthews said it'd be cool with Bailey and Dakota Kai leaving Damage Control and pursuing the women's tag team titles in the future. Well, I'll one-up you here, Ryan Matthews. What if Dakota and Bailey aren't together after this Damage Control breakup? Bailey needs a friend, and I think there's somebody out there that's not signed with anybody currently, and she goes by the name of Sasha Banks. What if we see Sasha Banks kind of revitalize Bailey after her demise of Damage Control?
Well, and you have the CM Punk of it all now too. CM Punk was at her debut in San Jose.
Oh, connecting the dots here, are you?
I was there. I was rows away from Phil. We said 0 words. I was afraid to look at him. But he was there in support of Mercedes Moné, and he could be that. Again, Triple H isn't dumb, dude. I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what's crazy about all this, and we didn't even mention her name because she's been off TV for a couple weeks? Jade Cargill could easily be a Royal Rumble winner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just another big-time player in their women's division right now. It truly is incredible. And that match to kick off Survivor Series was definitely that. We got a few more comments here,
and
though,
think
unless you
about
got
it,
something
too,
else.
like when you look at it, like Chelsea Green is like low mid, Piper Niven solid, like Indie Darling, like women's tag champion, but like there's just a lot of good names, and they're doing stuff with a lot of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Even
Ryan Matthews loved
Natalia,
that show. Yeah, even Natalia and Tegan
Tegan,
Knox. Yeah.
working. Come on, now.
Everybody's getting a little bit of shine. You gotta love it. I like this comment from Ryan Vogus. He said Sasha and Bailey versus Charlotte and Becky for the tag team titles. That's mage right there.
Bro, you want to put some credibility on those tag team titles. Like how like if you put a tag team tournament and those two the win, like against Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, come on, dog.
Yeah, there's no comparison there between those two teams. No disrespect to Chelsea and Piper. They're doing great things with it, I think. But Eric goes on to say they might say Bailey for 41 with it being in San Francisco. Is that confirmed a location for 41? Oh, that's close to you, isn't it?
I'm going.
If that happens, correct?
Yeah, I'm going because that San Francisco, I could coach a game at 11, fly to San Francisco in an hour. So it would like from game.
You wouldn't want to do that though. You want to take all the WrestleMania stuff in, or is that right in the middle of baseball season?
It's fucking with my baseball season. Yeah, like
Okay.
I skipped a game this year as a
you
JV coach, but now as a varsity coach, that's not going to work.
Yeah, you're like, hey guys, I'm not going to be there, and then they go on Facebook, social media, and their varsity coach just watching WrestleMania.
Yeah, dude, I can't do that. So I have punted. That's why SummerSlam's such a big deal for me now. Like I want SummerSlam to be the yearly thing because that's the most perfect thing for my schedule selfishly.
And I'm going to put this out there too, Tuck. Everybody watching right now, get your ass to SummerSlam. Let's just have an OTM takeover. Everybody come on in. It's going to be in Cleveland, right? That's the rumor. It's not confirmed.
That is the Cleveland is a front runner, which would be kind of dope.
Yeah, I would be here for it. I've never been to Cleveland. I haven't heard great things, but a new city is always exciting.
The downtown area by the ballpark is like legit. Went with OTM, Mikey Wilson, Red Sox, Cleveland Indians. We got
Canceled.
with our Airbnb. It was the Cleveland Indians at the time. We got with the Airbnb. The picture was the whole house, but he actually rented the attic. So
it's kind of similar to our WrestleMania experience.
No, our WrestleMania experience was dope.
I wouldn't say dope. I'm talking about the Airbnb where we were in partial of the house. You know what I'm saying? Like we weren't. We didn't have the entire building.
Not even close. That thing was set up to be an Airbnb. We were literally in an attic with a futon. It was not great.
Yeah, that's a fair counterpoint there, Tucky.
The worst one, the St. Louis Airbnb was a little bit more wild. I slept in a closet.
Yeah, and then Ryan Vogus even commented on that as well. It can't be worse than the St. Louis with the Rumble. And yeah, we were kind of far away from downtown St. Louis. It's not the safest city. I know this as a St. Louis Cardinals fan. I typically just hang around the ballpark, and that's about it. That's about all you can really do in St. Louis. So I guess that's a fair point right there. But yeah, to kick off Survivor Series, the babyface team won in the women's War Games. Let's move on over to the Intercontinental Championship match where Gunther successfully retained his title by defeating The Miz via submission. Now, this match was exactly what it needed to be, in my opinion. You have Gunther, who worked to his strengths, The Miz working as a great babyface, who would have thought, and he even got a few near falls there that had the crowd at the edge of their seats. Like when he hit that skull-crushing finale, Tucky, I think about 80% of that arena was buying in, and I'm sure people watching at home bought in as well.
I was sitting straight up. The like low blow into the skull crushing finale. You're like, okay, like those are two good reasons, and he got him. So yeah, what a match! I think the credibility of the Miz goes through the roof here. Stock on him is very high. I think I'm done with Gunther as an Intercontinental Champion. Like, what else?
You like ready for the next step, like I am?
Yep.
I'm in the same boat, and we went into, before I talk, he said Miz's best match Ryan Matthews did in the last couple of years. It would be hard to argue that. The crowd was definitely behind him all the way, but Yeah, I mean, Gunther now has basically ran through everybody, it seems like. It's getting to the point where he might have to revisit some feuds of the past. I don't know if a returning Sheamus is, lurking back there, or maybe Chad Gable gets another shot, but it seems like he's pretty much accomplished everything that he could with that title, and he seems like a guy that could be another Royal Rumble favorite going into next year.
Yeah, like who's next? Like I don't even in that mid card kind of division. Bobby
Tough to
Lashley?
pinpoint. Ooh, I mean he's on SmackDown, so that might be tough to tell, but you could maybe set it up at the Rumble.
Yeah, like Credible could do it. I don't know. If you're trying to
sure
make
they'll
him
figure it
lose
out.
the title, he's gonna. I don't know. It's gonna be weird.
He's gonna have to lose it to somebody credible, that's for sure. Derek Vogus in the house said, "Oh my God, almost forgot you guys were on. Congrats to Tucky on the race,
dude. That was funny, dude. I won.
Is that your first like actual win, like number one placing?
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious, dude. I was not thinking about winning. I was like, maybe top 10 or whatever. It was like a workout, my last good like kind of speed workout for the marathon, which is coming up a week from today.
Oh boy.
So it was just kind of funny.
Warm
like
up.
through a mile and a half, I was hanging with the boys, and I like sprinted a little bit. I'm like, let's see if they want to keep up, and they didn't. And I won. It was not a PR. I've run faster 5Ks, but that was the day. So
you having a week, getting first in the race, and then
I won a pair of ski lift tickets gonna go skiing, I guess.
Hey, don't hurt yourself. I know a few people that have gone skiing and got injured. It's a very dangerous thing to do.
I'm not.
You'll never see me out there.
I'm not dying to do it. No.
I don't blame you there.
No.
Let's go and pull up Kind's comment here. He said this match was a banger, man. He was convinced that The Miz was winning until Gunther kicked out of the low blow skull-crushing finale. That's when I knew it was done and Gunther was retaining. And like I was saying, kind of the formulaic Gunther match where, the babyface does have a couple spots where you're like, oh, maybe that's it. But Gunther just power bombs the shit out of you, slaps you, and puts you into submission.
Yep. No doubt.
I love it.
Yeah, Vogus says Triple H giving people multiple legit finishers is fantastic. And to go off this comment, I agree. Having a couple different options, I think it makes matches way less formulaic, where like Rey Mysterio 619, if that's all he has, he needs a very specific setup and finish and very routine. But a lot of these guys are getting finishers where they can catch out of nowhere and they can also set up. Randy Orton a Jace, RKO Jace, where that could pop out of nowhere, and we'll get to that. But I agree.
Yeah, he brought up a couple examples like Sammy winning with the Blue Thunder Bomb, Drew with the DDT, Gunther with submissions. He's definitely here for it. Kind's also curious on what's next for Gunther. I think a lot of us are, but we probably are going to find out soon. And he also wants a new champion at some point as well. Ryan Matthews, I know he's over the Gunther title reign. He finds him to be boring. I could understand that now just based off the length of the reign, but I think he's one of the most legit characters right now in wrestling, which you gotta appreciate. And Kind said,
I learned a little bit more about his gimmick last night at the press conference, like kind of why it is the way it is, and like a lot of his recent challengers have had to qualify. So his thing is like, I am the champion. You have to be worthy of challenging me. So he kind of leaves it to the like, I want to fight the best and be the best kind of thing, which is not a super enticing character or gimmick, but
he's a heel.
He's like, I'm not, because somebody asked like, who are you going after next? He's like, I'm not chasing anybody. Like, I'm here for whoever is next. Like, that's not my job. And so I kind of felt that. I love Gunther.
I do too, man. He's just so legit. Kind threw out the idea of potentially losing to Punk. I don't know if I'd like that. I don't think CM Punk, as of right now, is, and this is going to sound crazy, this might be a hot take, credible enough to dethrone Gunther of his reign. Is that a hot take to you?
No, not on day one, dude. Nope. I that's how much I respect Gunther. You know what I mean? Like,
you just can't come in here and beat Gunther like that.
Yeah.
Get her in
And
your stripes a little bit.
yeah, AEW is starting to become like the breeding ground for WWE. If you look at it, Jade Cargill, Cody
The
Rhodes,
big three, yeah, they were
CM
hanging out
Punk.
backstage in AEW.
Weird.
Very weird. And Eric wants to apologize. It's going to be in Minneapolis, so there goes your San Francisco.
Oh,
Royal
we have
Rumble.
talked about that though.
We
Minneapolis
have.
would be a dope mania. We did. That's where my last thought was Minneapolis. So when it comes
Interesting.
back to San Francisco, though, we'll see it here, boys.
Yeah, I'll make the trip. I heard San Fran's beautiful. Eric said that Ludwig should dethrone Gunther. I don't know if we're quite there yet, but it's definitely an option. Ryan Matthews goes on to say that he's definitely added prestige to the title, but nothing matters to me until we get that white stripe back. That is the best looking belt in my opinion. I don't know what your favorite belt is, but that's mine.
I really like the way it is. I wasn't a WWE guy with the white strap, so I'm not as attached to it. But I think Vogus's comment about heating Gable back up, like the second half of his comment was they have to make someone off the win. Like that's where Gunther's at now. Who they need to have stock in the winner because that's where the title's at now. So keep it up.
Yeah.
And I think the mid card titles matter. Well, the IC one does for sure. The US titles.
Jury's still out on that one, I think. We didn't see Logan Paul at Survivor Series. We haven't seen him since Crown Jewel, so yeah, I don't know about that one quite yet. Ryan Matthews said, I feel horrible for MJF, though. Tough to see him succeeding in a promotion the style of WWE. I think he's the face of AEW, so I don't feel that bad for him.
It could be worse, for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm interested to see how it goes. I don't know. I don't know if I want to see him in WWE.
Not right now. I don't need it. You know? There's so much cooking in the kitchen right now that if you throw him in there, where does he land on the card? So
if he goes to WWE, AEW is in
Dead.
not great shape.
Dead. I would say that is the killer right there. If MJF jumps ship, especially next year, I don't see them succeeding after that.
Not great.
Time will tell. Eric Douglas going to give us his 4 favorites for the men's as well. He's going with Gunther, Punk, Cody, and Priest. I love those first 3 names right there, Tucky.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
You didn't seem too thrilled about that one.
No, I'm like I don't have a legit argument against any of the 4, so that makes it fine. I think they like all 4 of those guys. What will piss me off? Who would piss you off to see in the final 4, like Bronson Reed? Come on, guys.
Yes, I do. Which, once again, I'm not a Bronson Reed guy, but I think he's been presented okay recently. Like, he's doing good things, but yeah, that would piss me off a little bit. Kind said if WWE signed him for the Rumble, AEW is finished forever. I think we can all agree on that one. And then Eric is asking, do you think that Ricky Starks will be next? Tuck, I'll let you answer that one.
I wouldn't be surprised, but he's not going to get the Punk Cody return. He's going to get the Jade Cargill of it all, if anything, right? Like,
right.
Give him the NXT title for a minute and let's go to work. But he like Dragon Lee was not in NXT for a really long time. Like they can also hotshot him too. If I think they got Dragon Lee in and they were like, we don't have a lot of stuff to do here. Let's go see him. So I think they're kind of breaking away from maybe a traditional mold with some of these guys. So I could see him going down there for a minute. Dragon Lee never even won a title, did he?
No, he didn't. And he competed, I think, in some Heritage Cup matches. But there's just some guys. You look at Elias when he was in NXT, it wasn't working. And I'm not saying Dragon Lee wasn't working in NXT because it was, but some people just flourish more on the main roster. And I think Dragon Lee is definitely going to be one of those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
We'll talk a little bit more about Dragon Lee here in just a second, but I want to get to all your comments because it's such a good time right now, and I want to talk to everybody. Kind said top got to be Jey Uso, Cody, Gunther, and Solo. I think I like that 4 better. I love the Solo shout too.
Yeah, I like that one too.
That would be exciting. Ryan said if Cody doesn't win the Rumble again, how do we get him back to Roman if we do at all? It's actually a fair question because I think Cody's technically a Raw superstar, correct?
Yeah, like they've got to figure that out. That's why it makes me think it's like Cody, no doubt.
Yeah, good question there, Ryan. I guess we will find out. But we were talking about Dragon Lee. Let's talk about the match that he was involved in. Obviously, this was billed when we were doing the show last week as Carlito versus Santos, but we saw on SmackDown that Carlito was taken out, so insert Dragon Lee. Wasn't too bummed about that one, but Santos keeps his momentum by defeating Dragon Lee in what I thought was a very fun match, and I really liked how the crowd was embracing the heel heat for Santos, because, some smart crowds, and Chicago's one of them, they'll attach themselves to a heel. They'll cheer on the heel, but he was getting culero chants, which I don't know the definition for. I believe that is Spanish. Ooh. I didn't know what they were saying. You might have to look that up. But going off of Dragon Lee, once again, it seems like even though he lost, he's on the right track. Like, even losing a match to Santos Escobar on a big pay-per-view is not going to hurt his stock whatsoever.
Yeah, I think Dragon Lee kind of got over a little bit. It sounded like the crowd was into him. I was interested to see how they would receive him being kind of new and a day edition. Like, Vogus had floor seats, but he was surrounded by people who, like, they had great seats but had nothing to do with the product.
Crazy.
And I think Dragon Lee had the evening where he could have won people like that over too. It was a good match.
It was a good match. I think it was perfectly placed on the card too, just smack dab in the middle of everything. And the crowd was still into it, which that was a plus. And of course, Santos is just going to keep climbing until I'm sure Rey Mysterio comes back. And I think we'll get Santos Escobar versus Rey at next year's WrestleMania, which would obviously be another incredible match. Eric Douglas goes on to say that Liv Morgan is another one who didn't succeed in NXT to really thrive on the main roster. I would agree with you there, Eric. Kine goes on to say that this match was a banger as well. Both showed their skill. Loved the match. Santos obviously got the win, though. I'm very glad Dragon Lee is getting his recognition. I've loved him in NXT. Obviously, Kine a big fan of NXT as well. So, yeah, just good stuff all around there. Ryan Matthews says that he saw the Carlito promo translated on TikTok, a ton of profanity, and it was very personal. So, I'm sure Carlito is probably going to get his chance at Santos, wouldn't you guess?
Yeah.
And it'll be fun. We'll probably see that on the SmackDown or something, or maybe you put it on the Royal Rumble, or you just have them interact at the Royal Rumble. There's a lot of options coming up, but it's that weird time, Tuck, because Survivor Series ends. We're still at the end of November. We don't have a pay-per-view till the late January.
This is the perfect time for like a little King of the Ring or something, dude. Like, mix it up for 4 weeks. King of the Ring gets number 30 in the Rumble, or something like guaranteed last 5 pick.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Or choose your position,
something like that where, there's an incentive. It keeps the mystique of the Rumble, but like, we are in a little floaty period, but CM Punk is a pretty good option if you need something to do.
Oh, and Randy Orton, ever heard of that guy? 14-time world champion. Yeah. It's insane that they both showed up, and they're both going to be on Monday Night Raw tomorrow.
And R-Truth. People forget.
R-Truth being back. What a gem. Did you see him in the crowd? Did you see that tweet that Focus shared?
I was dying.
Man, shout out to R-Truth. He's a living legend for sure. Kine goes on to say that Santos is cooking as a heel. He's so perfect for that role. Wonder who's next on the hit list. Maybe a singles title soon.
He is interesting now.
This is what he was natural at, We saw this in NXT with Legado del Fantasma, so I think we're in for some good stuff. Ryan Vogus is sucking up to you, by the way. He said you're cooking.
My dog.
He wants that MVM back, I think.
It's working.
You just gotta schmooze on up to Tucky a little bit.
Oh, no. I'm the champ.
Ryan Matthews said, insane to me how there's the big 4, including pay-per-views throughout the year: Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and this one felt like a new beginning. Yeah, they're kind of like chapters in a way, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I think they're much more intentional about it now. Some of these cards, you think of some of the pay-per-views like pandemic era, pre-pandemic, around the pandemic, like some of those cards were like not great. So like, they just feel more meaningful, and I love those like 3-hour pay-per-views. Just like, let's get in, get out, let's
in and
go.
out.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff. Eric said, I know we're probably saving this for the main event, but do you think AJ comes after Punk? Yeah, maybe we'll pencil that in for when we get to the main event, but I think that is definitely a good question. Shout out to my boy Brett Haskell stopping by, one of the biggest OG CM Punk marks, giving us a best in the world comment. If you don't know Brett Tucky, that's the guy that was wrestling with me in CPWF, and he came out to CM Punk's theme song.
Yeah.
So definitely a big Punk mark right there. So Brett, thanks for stopping by. Kind of goes on to say we should have a December PLE, maybe a Christmas-themed event. I could see it. That'd be something. Ryan Matthews said that.
Clash.
Clash at the Christmas tree.
St. Nicholas.
Street fight. We already get those.
Oh, yeah, we get that. Yeah.
It's Miracle on 30. Yeah, there it is.
Yes.
You knew where I was going.
Sponsored by Pizza Hut.
Yeah, that's right. You got to get those sponsors in. Shout out to Ruffles. Not a sponsor of OTM.
No.
Ryan Matthews said Logan Paul has to be next to get the U.S. title he should have to begin with. That would make sense. Okay. And Eric asked, do you think Elektra Lopez gets called up to join Santos? I don't, Eric, just because I believe Elektra's doing stuff with Lola Vice right now in NXT, and I don't think she's quite ready yet there. I'm sure there's some other options that can align with Santos. Hell, what if even Zelina ends up switching sides and works with Santos going forward?
That could be wild. What do you think about Lola Vice? I don't know anything about her.
I think she's great.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of charisma. She's got a lot of assets, if you know what I'm saying. With that MMA background, you could take her seriously. You're shaking your head. Why are you shaking your head?
Married dog. Not
could
today,
say yes.
Satan.
You could say yes. You're not going to get in trouble.
Nope.
All right. He's going to dodge the question. Let's move on then here. We got 2 more matches to talk about, and of course, what happened after the main event. This one we don't have to spend too much time on, but Rhea successfully retained her women's title against Zoe Stark, and I think it's safe to say, Tuck, that going into this one, no one in their right mind expected Zoe to win, but I still think she had a solid showing. It's just Rhea Ripley is just on a completely different level than everybody else.
Dude, that's all there is to it right now. Triple H said it, commentary said it, you said it, I said it, he said it, she said it, we said it. Mommy's always on top. She is a star. It right now, untouchable, and you couldn't see it from your seats, but her the detail in her face paint was tree rooty, viney, super detailed. She's got it going on, dude. She's real.
Her gear was awesome too. The Judgment Day as a whole, I mean, there was a lot of great, entrance gear this show. Like the Damage Control had the mask of Asuka. Mm-hmm. It was just awesome throughout. But I really don't have much to say other than I'm really curious on who could be next for Rhea Ripley. I know Vogus brought up Becky and Charlotte maybe tagging, but something tells me that Becky's eventually going to get the Rhea Ripley, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know who's next. So until you figure that out, Becky's great. I don't know.
That's a good point too from Vogus. He said you can't put baby faces against her anymore. She's too over. I mean, you saw it you could probably hear it on TV, right? That most people were on Rhea's side.
Everybody would. Yes. No. Nobody thought Zoe Stark was going to win except Ryan.
The funny thing is, Ryan didn't know her name, so every 2 minutes, Ryan's like, Zoe? Questioning if that's her name. I'm like, yeah, Ryan, Zoe. He's like, so then he would get into the Zoe chance. Yeah. So he's like, I don't want to be the idiot saying the wrong name, But I know who I like. I just sometimes I don't always remember her name. Which was very confusing because when we took our picture before the show, he saw somebody in a Mommy shirt. He goes, Mommy, I like it. I was like, Ryan, you're switching on me. What are you doing?
Come on, dude. Yeah.
But that's what's fun about, obviously with my brother having a disability, he leans towards the baby faces. That's the purest form of wrestling, isn't it? Just cheering the baby faces.
All good. Yep. I'm for the good.
Ryan Matthews said it's important. Hold on. Once again, loading on my end. It's important, though boring, to have Rhea assert her dominance on the women's roster. It really gives her credibility to be the leader of the Judgment Day. And he clarifies that boring because the matches aren't like Roman's, where it's close all the time. But I think to counter that, having a dominant champion where, the other opponent's really never going to have a shot is kind of refreshing in a way.
No, I think he's saying it's important to do that.
Oh, okay.
It's important to do that to establish Rhea as the leader of the Judgment Day. And
okay, now I got you.
He's saying it could come across as boring because she's just dominating all the time. But who?
Yeah.
Who's next?
Time will tell. We're going to be saying that a lot. Now you got my interest.
Like,
Now we're cooking.
Jade Cargill, like, that's cool, but like, no, it's
Just
not
not
her.
yet.
No.
We forgot to mention at the beginning of the show that we still do have a sale going on. It
Oh.
expires at midnight tonight. So go ahead and run to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast.com right now or after the show. Use promo code Survivor. Get yourself some gear because next weekend there will be no code. You're going to have to pay full price. So do it now before the clock strikes midnight. But other than that, Tuck, anything else you want to talk about before we get into the main event?
No.
You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready?
Nope. I was not ready for that.
Actually, I do want to pull up this comment because I did see this. Kind asked, did you see the Rhea licked something she signed and it sold for $580?
False. I had 850 on the post that I read.
Was that your bet?
Either way. No. Again, not today.
I'm not catching you slipping tonight, am I?
Nope, I'm on it. But yeah, licked it. Not even because they used to do like the Divas Kiss cards as trading cards instead of like an autograph. Yeah, so that's weird.
Eric said keep giving her people like Natty, undercard people, then Liv, maybe at the Chamber, and then Becky at Mania. I'd like to maybe see an Indy Hartwell at the Elimination Chamber just because that is happening in Australia. And then you'll have two Australian-born women fighting for the women's title at the Elimination Chamber. I think that's the direction they would go for a one-off at the Elimination Chamber. That could be good stuff. So, and they've done, once again, another one of those women that's, not in the forefront, Indy Hartwell, but I feel like her and Candice, they're still getting enough shine on Raw, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they're hanging out.
They're on TV. That's a
They're
plus.
making a wage, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go then to the main event of War Games Survivor Series, and it was the men's match. This match had the build of the main event, and I think it absolutely delivered as the main event. The baby faces in the WWE right now are just insane because all men in this match were super over with the crowd throughout, and the Judgment Day just did a great job being the heels that they are, And before we get into, exactly what happened after the match or in the match, how did you feel overall for the presentation, the main event feel, and just the War Games match itself?
I thought it was dope, top to bottom. Like I think Judgment Day came across as strong. You have a lot of directions to go. The Orton debut, although like he wasn't in there for a half hour or anything. He comes in, tells the story with Jay, so that you have that immediately if you want to go there. Dope RKO, shout out JD McDonough. And the briefcase, it was just a banger.
There was a lot going on once again, and this is the one match where I actually expected the baby faces to win. And they obviously did. But, man, those entrances that all those men got were very special. It seems like everybody was totally behind them. But you talked about some of those spots and what happened there. We really weren't sure if Randy was going to show up, since they talked about it throughout the show. But you had Rhea, who was trying to assist Damian Priest in the cash-in. And then we heard voices in our head. The music hit. And a reaction that blew off the Allstate Arena. I think it is right up there with the pop that we got from CM Punk. I know we were getting CM Punk chants all night, Tucky, but you can't deny how over and how beloved Randy Orton still is. And you heard it with that reaction.
Dude, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H's favorite venue to wrestle is the Allstate Arena because of the wood ceilings and the acoustics. I bet you that fucking place was rocking. He comes out jacked to the absolute gills. Did that translate in person? Because on TV, what a physique. And he was always in great shape, but now he's like just a unit. Congrats, Randy.
It did come across in person as well. It's like, boy's looking thick, in a good thick, not the bad thick,
Yeah.
I mean, just a legend, and it was just great for him to have his moment as well. It kind of had the same vibe as AEW All Out in 2021, where you got Adam Cole, you got that reaction, but you also got the chef's kiss at the end. But before we get into what everybody probably wants to talk about, we have a lot of comments here. So I want to make sure that everybody gets their say in because we are for the marks. Let's get that out there.
Come on now.
Kind said, not to mention the cash-in, we think, holy shit, Damian's going to do it. Randy didn't turn up. Boom. Randy comes out jacked as fuck. You got that right. It's an awesome RKO on his return like we need. Yeah, just playing all the hits basically with Randy Orton. That's all he needed, right?
Oh, yeah. What else? What else do you need?
You don't need much with the Viper. That's for damn sure. Voga said just the baby faces entrances were incredible. Every single person's theme is over. The good guys are in a great spot in the WWE. You're 100% correct. Eric Douglas said that JD McDull is selling off
here, hold
RKO.
on.
What?
Hold on. Back to Vogus's comment. Sorry. Like the faces right now, they're like badass. That's why. Like they're not cartoons. They're not the plucky, like be good, go get them like baby faces. They're like badasses. That's got a lot to do with it, I think. Your thoughts?
I totally agree. It's just cool to be the good guy right now. I never thought I would say that.
Sing-alongs, like bopping, like for everybody. You got Cody Rhodes' theme, you got Seth Rollins, you got LA Knight. Like, oh, it's great.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Let's go then to what Eric was saying because I totally agree with this. He said that JD McDull is selling off of that RKO. Please, give this man an award. I think me and Ian have talked about it, Tucky, but I think he's eerily similar to Dolph Ziggler in the way that he sells.
Dude, he's working. Like he's working on that for sure, and he's into it. I see a bright future for JD McDonough. I think he's going to be a player.
He definitely is, and being a part of the Judgment Day is only going to take him to that next level. It's a great introduction to the main roster. Ryan Voga said he was awestruck by Randy. I mean, being 2 feet or 3 feet, whatever it was for Randy Orton, that had to be quite the moment for him.
Oh my God. Yeah, because real respect's real. Vogus appreciates it too.
Body goals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, everybody's just commenting on Randy's body. I love it. I love these men are just not ashamed to comment on other men's body. That's what we're all about.
Dude, this is a body positive podcast, and Randy's body is very positive.
Very, very good body right there. You can talk about that one, right?
Shout out Randy Orton.
Mr. won't get mad at that one, will she?
No. Nothing but respect, brother.
Brett said you had to bulk up for his back. Yeah, he's probably right.
Probably. Like, facts.
Gotta have that strength for sure. Look, I didn't know Brett was a doctor. I know his wife's a nurse, so maybe that's why he made that smart comment. Kyan said that Randy looks in his prime again. Did a little 10 sign on the way out, maybe 10 more years. Also spent a few minutes signing stuff and talking to people on the way out. An absolute legend and a hero. You are 100% correct. Ryan Matthews said that the old mustache showed his age a little bit. Guys, your comments are just rolling in. It's really slow on my end. Sorry. He looks like the OG Apex Predator. Sammy, Cody, Seth, Jay, Randy came out like the Avengers. CM Punk came in like Thanos, the Age of Ultron. Could have said it better myself. Looks like Kine agrees with you as well. He said they're not drink your milk and take your vitamins faces. They're cool faces. They're guys that you can like. Jace gets the crowd pumped with his entrance, and so does Cody. What are you laughing at?
Vogus's comment.
Oh, Vogus said JD's head is huge. I know a thing or two about big heads. I mean, look at this noggin right here.
Yeah, that's a melon, dude.
Hey, look at this. I always have like it on the last couple straps.
Shout out to JD McDonough's head. We
respect the big heads around here. That's for damn sure. So let's set the table here. You know, the good guys win. The faces are celebrating. Let me actually have Kine take it away. The faces are celebrating. Ending credits popped up for us watching at home. And then bang, the cult of personality hits. The roof blows off the joint. The prodigal son has returned to WWE in his hometown. CM Punk is back with the WWE after, I think it was 9 years of not being with the company. I mean, it's hard to put into words on how I felt in that moment. I know Ryan Vogus will agree with me there that this is one of the more memorable things that have ever happened in wrestling. Some people thought this would never happen, Tuck. You know what they always say, though? Never say never. CM Punk is back.
Yeah, wild, crazy. That's all I got. Chuck, back to you in the studio. Like I got to a point where I was biting a little bit. It's happening, and then I kind of let it go. I didn't think it was going to happen. And then they did this show. Did you guys get the show long story in the stadium?
No.
So they were playing video packages of like Randy was not there.
Oh.
So they were like,
oh no, yeah, they did show that. Yeah, I thought you were talking like the end credits. My bad.
No. So they were playing it like Randy wasn't there the whole time, and then you're like, well, that opens the door for CM Punk,
and that's why there were chants.
And then it was actually Randy, and then you're like, okay, that's great. Randy Orton's back. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Like signed, sealed, delivered. Like set it up, knocked it out of the park. Cool. And then CM Punk. Wow.
I tell you what, you can love him, you can hate him. He's one of the most polarizing figures in professional wrestling. But you cannot deny the fact that people are going to talk about him. He's a draw, and he still is one of the best in the world. He might not be the best in ring, but when it comes to drawing and putting butts in seats, I think CM Punk is right up there with the top names right now, currently in wrestling. And like Triple H said, it's a cold day in hell. You saw the picture. The beef, the history with Triple H and CM Punk. You talked about how they had brief conversations, like an hour and a half throughout the week.
Hour.
It all came together. It was a perfect storm. What a way to send people off. I tell you what, Tucky, that was one of my favorite endings to a WWE pay-per-view.
Does it overshadow Orton a lot? I think that's what
not
it
a lot.
Does.
I would say a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I think Randy's still getting his flowers. I don't think you can deny the fact that Randy Orton is just the man still, but it's going to overshadow it a little bit, especially since he hasn't been with the company for so long and he's returning in his hometown. But if WWE wasn't going to strike right there and then, I feel like they would have dropped the ball. Because if he shows up, you sign CM Punk at the Rumble, yeah, you're going to get that pop, but is there going to be anything in your hometown?
No. And he's like the king of Chicago, dude.
Dude, I mean, you saw him jump into the arms of that guy in the front row. The guy was just saying, Chicago, Chicago. Yeah. Like, that's it. Yeah. That's all it's about.
Like, Moxley's not going to sell out a stadium in Cincinnati, dude. Like,
not at all.
People don't. That's the crazy thing. So
nobody loves their hometown hero quite like Chicago does with CM Punk. And Ryan Vogus is wording it perfectly. It felt like an outer body experience, and that is probably the best way to put it. Vogus and I have now experienced 2 of CM Punk's returns. We were there when he debuted with AEW, and now he's back in the WWE. So let's crank through these comments here before we hit the road. Eric Douglas asks, do you think AJ comes back with him? I definitely think it's a possibility, Tuck.
AJ who?
AJ Lee.
That's what okay. Yeah. I don't know.
I would like to see it. That's for damn sure, Eric. And I think it's definitely more likely now that CM Punk is back in the WWE. Ryan Matthews said Punk versus LA Knight is going to hit like crack in the 80s, kind of like that Ultimate Warrior promo that was shared.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in.
Yeah. Vogus said maybe they want to overshadow Randy some. I doubt he's going back to being full-time every week. Maybe. I mean, that's a fair point. Kine goes on to say he's like Jordan in the 90s. Ryan Matthews said Punk's the only thing Chicago sports has going for it besides the Hawks. And honestly, the Hawks are dog shit too. They just had a superstar in Connor Bedard. So Kine went on to say it was like a fever dream, something that would never be true, and it happened. Thank you, Hunter. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Hunter, for putting on an incredible show, giving us an incredible moment there to close out Survivor Series. And I'm very excited for what's to come. And speaking of what's to come, what do you think is the first step for CM Punk? If not, if you don't know what the first step is, do you see the path for him in a WrestleMania main event next year?
I see him. on the card, but not main eventing either night.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I differ.
Rhea's going to main event one of those nights.
Yeah,
and Roman's going to main event the other.
Well, we know Roman's going to main event, that's for sure. But
yeah,
I think it'd be tough to not have CM Punk main event. And like Brett Haskell said, that's the match I think people are going to want, because you saw the clips that were going around of how Seth Rollins was reacting. Was it real? Was it not? We don't know. I think it's a work, because at the end of the day, they are professional and they know what's best for business. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, I think that's probably the best option on the table.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
And it could be something that we see tomorrow planted a little bit, because we know that CM Punk and Randy Orton are going to be on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. So definitely a must-see show.
It's in Nashville.
What do you think?
Maybe. I don't know. Let's get weird.
It's a 7-hour drive. I have to work, so probably not. Vogus said it's a no-brainer that AJ is in the Rumble this year. You heard it here first, guys, and I kind of agree with him. I'm with Kine. He said CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, main event, night 1, gotta be. And then you can do probably Roman Reigns versus Cody in night number 2. Brett Haskell said that the way Rollins reacted, I think that's going to be where the storyline is going to start, especially with all the comments Rollins has made in the past. And that's the thing, Tucky. Rollins isn't the only one that has dirt on CM Punk's name. Like, it's kind of going to be an interesting vibe backstage, I think. It's not going to be like AEW, but you're going to have to walk on eggshells a bit.
CM Punk kind of shit on WWE, so
kinda.
I'm interested to hear what he has to say. Like, I think he's got some work to do, right?
Yeah, and I want to be optimistic in thinking that the only reason he came back to WWE is because he wants to just put good business out there. I think he wants to close the book, write his final chapter, and finish with the company that he started with. Because I think the reports are this is a multi-year deal, correct?
Yeah.
This is going to be very, very exciting going forward. I can't wait to see what CM Punk's going to do, what Randy Orton's going to do. And you know what's crazy after all this talk? We didn't have Roman Reigns at all on this show.
No.
The biggest star in your company wasn't a part of Survivor Series, and it was one of the most memorable shows of all time.
It was great. Yeah.
So you said it's great. I got to ask, what's your letter grade for this year's Survivor Series War Games?
The show itself, or like, does the CM Punk return influence the grade? Like,
I think it does. Yeah.
Because then I think that makes it an A.
It's got to be an A. I don't think it's an A plus just because not every match was perfect. But the moments, and that's what WWE is, moments. Yeah. They're moment makers. So I would agree with you. I think it's an A. There is an interesting question, though, from Ryan Vogus. He asked, do we think that Shinsuke thing is still Punk, or is it Brock to get his win back from New Japan? I think that might be Punk's first thing, Tucky, is going in at Shinsuke.
Punk was not on the table when Shinsuke made the promos. Like, when they put those out, the Punk thing was not on the table. So that makes me think they were either begging for it, like putting it out there and crossing their fingers, or it could be the Brock thing. So
both are intriguing options.
Yes, but he makes the debut with all the guys in the ring still, so that made me think maybe it comes from the ring. You know, Seth was in the ring. So
it's just, I mean, I can't reiterate it enough. It's just so much fun, such a memorable experience for me being there live, and I can't say it enough. I'm looking forward to what is to come here in the WWE, but we are at that point of the show where we got to get to the MVM, and I think we could argue that this is one of the more difficult decisions we've had to make, right?
This was dope. Kind of out of nowhere, you know, steady views, kind of fun.
I tell you what, I think it has a lot to do with the shirt I'm wearing. I think he's the one that's moving the needle, huh?
For real. Yeah.
So let's get to it. It's not loading in my background. Usually I'll throw up the MVM here. Hold on. I got it. We'll get it there. So yeah, like I said, a lot of, great contenders here tonight. We appreciate you all tuning in live here. We're probably going to have another show this Thursday, so stay tuned for updates. if anything slow is going on, which I don't think there's going to be slow news this week with Orton.
There's probably going to be something. Yeah. We'll probably have something to talk about.
I definitely think we're going to have something to talk about. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a new MVM. And I know I spelled your name wrong, but like I said, it's slow over here. It is Ryan Matthews.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, no doubt. I had some doubts.
1 T, right?
Yeah, 1 T. It's very slow on my end, like I said, so I think it just kind of put another T in there. Ryan, I know how to spell your name. I've spelled it right before, but we appreciate you returning. I know Kind in the Discord said that he was going to win just because we always give it to the new guys. That's not the case, Tuck. I want you to set the story straight.
No, that's not the case.
That's all you need to know right there and then. Tucky's laying down the law.
That's it.
That is it. Yeah, thanks again, guys, for joining us for this episode. It was a lot of fun to talk with you guys. He gives us an "I'm back, baby" in the chat. You love to see it. Brett Haskell said this guy doesn't know how to spell. Don't let him fool you. That might be the case, Brett, but yeah, I think that's about all we got for him, Tucky. So why don't you send us home?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back Thursday. I'm putting it out there. We're saying it. Make sure you're following us on the socials at Pod on the Mark, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. Most entries on the PLE predictions came from Twitter. So we added the username and social media handle. All of the traffic's coming from the Twitter. So take that for what it's worth. Visit onthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com for all your merch needs. And don't forget to visit at @mainevent_net. That's the Main Event Wrestling Network, a collection of wrestling creators, podcasts, blogs, videos. And if you're interested, reach out. Send a DM to the Main Event Wrestling Network at @mainevent_net. Until Thursday. Not until next time. Until Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the On the Mark Wrestling podcast.